Hello, hello. Today we are going over the affidavit for Brian Koberger. Couple things before we start. I have the timeline, which someone sent me. Thank you very much. The timeline from the affidavit, like the timeline that we created from the affidavit. So I have that. I'm going to be looking through it as I go. My plan is to go through this with the reading, see what we get, and then go back through the affidavit, because I'm feeling like there may be, like, pertaining to my dream that I previously had, I'm feeling like there may be things in the affidavit that will either be more or less significant after we do the energy read, if that makes sense. Like something that we might have been like, oh, that's not, obviously everything is a big deal, but there may be a shift in perspective somewhere along the way where we look at something different. I feel like that may be what the dream was about. So I want to go through this timeline. It's like that long. And then that's going to be video 1 of this, like, affidavit portion of it. And then I'm going to then go through the affidavit. I'm going to pull that up on my iPad, go through that, and see if there's anything that is sticking out in a different way than it may have previously. So I was kind of looking online for some cards that I felt like would be very helpful here. So I was getting frustrated because I couldn't find like the right deck that I was looking for. Anyway, I ended up ordering about 6 decks because I wanted to look through the pictures and see which ones fit. One of them, I was like, I don't know if I should use this, but I felt like led to it. I don't know how to explain it. I kind of set the intention specifically for Xana to help me find the deck that she feels like would help in some way, like a big way. But I wanted to talk to you guys about it first because I don't want it to seem like I'm making light of anything here. Out of all the decks that I ordered, this is the only one that came so far. 3 of them are running late, which no big deal. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying I asked Xana to help me find a deck. 1 of them came, 3 are running late. I just feel like, I feel like she's trying to confirm that there's something in this deck. But again, I did want to discuss it. So it is a deck that has people who have been arrested for horrible crimes. It's actually a card game, but this is why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm not using it as a game. I just feel like there may be something when used at the appropriate time. I'm not going to be like pulling card after card to see what we get. I'm going to use it like likely only once when I feel like I'm being called to use it during this reading. But I didn't want someone to go look it up and be like, oh, she's using a deck from a game, and make it seem like I'm making light of this. I just feel like I was led to this deck, and I feel like it may provide some kind of information that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to get. It does say, has a country flag where the person's from, has their picture, their mugshot, if they're alive or passed away, their like nickname as a killer, the real name, their age at first kill, the years they were undiscovered for, number of victims, their date of birth, maniac factor, and that is a rating of like up to 5 stars right there. Maniac factor, how many stars? And it just has like a little passage about their crime. So again, I'm not meaning this to be a game. I've set the intention for this to help bring a piece of the puzzle that we wouldn't be able to get through tarot. So we're using this as a tool, and we are transmuting it out of the game energy, and we're using it for a purpose to be helpful in some way. And again, I'm only going to use it like once throughout the whole reading. At the time when I feel like, okay, now's the time where that would make sense or help us. I might have to pause so I can look up the person that we choose that comes out, so I can see if there's anything that's really standing out, and then I will share that information with you guys. Just wanted to address that because I didn't want that to come off as disrespectful in any way. Okay, I think that's it. Let's begin. So I guess I'll just go in order. It starts at 8/21/2022 between 10:34 p.m. and 11:35 p.m. So about an hour. BK's phone was utilizing cellular services near the King Road residence. What can we know about that? That isn't obvious. The lovers. Eight of Cups. His target had someone else at the house that night. There was somebody there. That specific night, 8/21. The Eight of Cups is like searching for truth, moving on. So let's say in his delusional brain, he was thinking, oh, I actually have a chance here. That night, he physically saw somebody else with, or at least what he thought was with, the person that he had the interest in. Also, sorry about this. Just ignore that. I'm still rearranging my office. The Eight of Cups is also like walking away. So I see him just like, are we trying to get close to her? Page of Cups. No, he wasn't trying to get close to her. He was just trying to feed his fantasy. It's almost like he wanted to go watch her and fantasize about, oh, if we were doing this or something like that. Or even it could be fantasize about murder. I'm not sure, but he was fantasizing about it watching, but somebody else was there that was like ruining his fantasy because he couldn't fantasize about her if he could see her with another person. His energy on 8/21 when he was watching his target with another person. We got 2. Perchance to dream. So it's a man. This card shows a man, and this one man is holding up this other man. This other man has a crown on his head, like the king, and he has like a gash in his side, the guy who's holding up the other guy. So it's almost like what we just talked about that night, 8/21, when he was at the house. This is what he was imagining was happening. Like he was getting his, it's not at his heart, it's like in his rib cage. He was getting a piece of him cut out by this man, and he wanted to make that man go to sleep. If that makes sense. But it's almost like painting the picture like he was dreaming, he was fantasizing, he was like watching her, like trying to project himself visually into her life, but he wasn't able to do that because there was another man there at the time. Everyone that has been picking up on, like, was the ex involved? I almost feel like this is what everyone was picking up on. It's not that he was involved. It's that 821, I would say, was like the beginning of the end. It, like, for some reason, he thought he had a chance at that time, or he just wanted to get very close, but there was somebody else who was blocking his ability to be able to visualize himself in that fantasy. And then we have the Maestro, Master of Inspiration. Oh my gosh, and he's holding up 1, 2, 3, 4. Understanding, community, ingenuity. And his eyes are like white and creepy. Like he's like looking through you instead of looking at you, I guess you could say. Master of Inspiration. Yeah, that's, I would say that 821 date. I almost feel like he wasn't 100% set that they would be the right targets, but that night was, if it wasn't this night in particular, it's a night that was similar to this where he was watching and saw one of them with somebody else. That's what inspired, and I'm saying that because this card was Master of Inspiration. That's what inspired him to dim these 4 lights. So this is one that everyone's very not happy about. We have fall. Oh wait, hold on. 1137. Oh, that's part of that. Okay. We have fall. BK applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department. The Magician. Okay, so really quick before I show what this, oh, it's the moon reverse, that makes sense. So I pulled this and I was shuffling and I was about to say he was trying to find his victims, and then this card flew under my little card roller thing and I almost said, oh, I can't find it, and then, you know, so it was the moon reversed. He was trying to find his victims through this position. Loud and clear. He was trying to manifest what he wanted to see happening, which was this crime or multiple crimes, whatever he was planning. I feel like it was more than one, but I don't feel like it was more than one yet. I feel like he was planning to do this more than just once. And then we have the moon, which is like, it's like he wanted to do this crime, get away with it, have people continuously wondering, like, who did that, who did that, who did that, while he was doing more like, it's almost like he wanted to be involved in the police department so he could find, like, those less fortunate that weren't, how do I put this? He wanted to commit a big crime that everyone would focus on and pay attention to, get away with that, and then continue committing little crimes. Not little crimes, but like one person instead of 4. I don't think he was wanting 4 the first time. I think he was wanting 2. But obviously 4. But it's almost like he wanted he wanted to be the one who committed an unsolved crime, and then be in a position of power where he would kind of have that adrenaline from that while he continued to commit other crimes, but ones that wouldn't get as much attention. I still feel like one was the target, but I feel like he knew he was going for two. Like one was the main target, but he knew he was going for both of them. Because it's like a step down where it's like, oh, look over here. While everyone's trying to solve this big crime, I can come over here and commit a bunch of small ones. Not small ones, because no murder is small, but less vast in terms of victims. So if it was 2, he was going to go to 1. Or since it was 4, he could go to 2. I don't know, but it's like he wanted to step down, but he wanted to get away with that while still being in the area committing more crimes. He wanted to see the impact of it. He wanted to see the impact of it. His ideal would have been, because we had the 9 of Cups, which is like wishes coming true, emotional fulfillment. He wanted to see firsthand how a crime that he committed could change the environment or like the way things were done. I feel like, and I'll pull a card to confirm, I feel like ideally for Brian, he would have liked to have gotten that job, or at least gotten his foot in the door where the job was starting to process. That's what he was waiting for. He ran out of time because Kaylee was leaving. His ideal would have been to get like the processing started, or just like get started in the job. I don't know, whatever. But get in with the police, commit this crime, get away with it because he thought he was so smart, and then be in the police inner circle as he sees how this crime is impacting what is done. It's not that he wanted to study the criminal's mind so that he could understand the whole buildup of the processes from the standpoint of the police and investigators. So like, he wanted to commit a crime. He wanted to get in with the police, commit a crime, and then already be in with the police so he could see how that crime that he got away with impacts the police force and detectives, so that he would know what other crimes he could get away with and how he could do that. This was a long-term game for him. A very long-term game for him. Let me pull a card. Eight of Swords reverse, freedom. It's like the woman on the image is blindfolded and there's a bunch of swords around her, but if she took the blindfolds off, she would realize she could just walk away. This is something that it's like Brian wanted to put himself in a position where he knew that there was no way they could convict him, or that there's no way that he could get caught, so that he could long-term keep doing this. I feel like that's going to make a little bit more sense later. Just want to pull one of these in reference to what I just said. Osiris, God King of Duat, commitment, acquisition, responsibility. Okay. So we're at 10:14. WSU police officer pulls over 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with PA plate, driven by Brian Koberger. What can we know about that? The Hermit and the Queen of Swords. When was that? 10:14. So that was about a month before, but about like a month and a half after the phone service. So essentially Knight of Cups reverse. What I'm getting here is, it's almost like Brian felt like he was receiving signs, like signs from the universe that he was, it's almost like he had this delusion that the universe was giving him signs that the time was coming to put this plan into action. I almost feel like getting pulled over to Brian on 10/14 was like a slap in the face to him, because he had this plan to get in with the police and then commit the crime, but he was running out of time because Kaylee was leaving, and he knew this because he was stalking them. And he was running out of time to do this, and he wasn't yet in with the police like he wanted to be. And this officer pulling him over was like, and this isn't to blame anyone, this is just what I'm reading in the energy. The officer pulling him over was like, if you have a lighter and you're flicking the lighter so that the fire goes on. This was that. So we had the 8/21 incident where he was outside the residence, and then we had someone else there with the girls, and he was mad about that. This was the same thing that was happening, but like with the police. He wanted to get in with the police, couldn't get in with the police, and now the police are pulling him over. But I'm supposed to be one of you guys, and you're pulling me over? I'm supposed to be with her, and she's with this other guy? It's like that same mindset. That's what I'm getting. So he was almost feeling like, this is from his mindset. I feel like, in my opinion, he may say something along the lines of, well, I guess I'm being shown that I should do this plan because nothing else is going through. Nothing else is working. I'm not getting the girl. I'm not getting the job. The rest of my plan won't fall into place, so I guess I should just do it a different way because I'm running out of time. Which I feel like added fuel to the fire and him wanting to outsmart the police, which is, I think, maybe part of where this cockiness is coming from, in terms of, I can't wait to be exonerated. That, I feel like, is like that at the police, because they rejected him too. They made it so that he could not do the plan in the way that he wanted to, because he wanted to be in with the police, then commit a crime, then watch how it was changing things. Well, they took that opportunity away from him because he wasn't in, and he was running out of time. He spent so much time getting to know these targets, figuring out their schedule, figuring out this and that. And now not only were the girls having guys over that weren't him, but the police didn't choose him, and now they're ruining his plan because he's not going to be able to get in with the police, then commit the crime, then see the changes. Almost like the before and after. And he was running out of time because Kaylee had to leave. That's what I'm getting with that. One second. more card for this. 5 of Wands, conflict. I really feel like that's what it is. And it's almost like in Brian's mind, he's semi-blaming the police in terms of why his plan didn't go perfectly, because he didn't get that opportunity to be foot in the door with them, then commit the crime, then see the changes. And because of them, in his mind, because of them, Kaylee was leaving and he was running out of time. But he hadn't gotten his foot in the door yet to be able to see the before and after on the police side of things. So the police pushed him without even knowing it in any way. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying, in his mind, the police pushed him to have to do this sooner. That's why he messed up. I only messed up because of the police. They wouldn't help me get that part of my plan in. Kaylee was leaving, so I had to rush things, and that's why I messed up. That's what he thinks. So now it's flipping to, well, now that I'm caught, I got to get away with it, because I got to get that one up on the police. Ooh. What would Brian's energy have been? The card already flipped. If he would have gotten into the police, whatever he was trying to get into. Martyr, matron of the blind. Honesty, shame, restitution. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what immediately is really sticking out to me about this card is the roommate Dylan said that she saw a man walking towards her that night, and he had a mask and everything covered but his eyes. And obviously well, at least she couldn't see if he was bloody or not. In this image, we have a figure in the dark. We can see the blood on the hands, and it's opposite in terms of the face. The only thing that is shown is the mouth and nose, as opposed to them being covered with a mask. This is telling me that if he would have gotten his foot in the door with the police, which is something that we already kind of suspected, that he was not having good intentions, obviously, but he was definitely going to use that as a cover for more victims. It's like presenting in the opposite way that you should, concealing the bloody hands, because the night that Dylan saw him, she didn't say anything about bloody hands. And then the opposite of the face, where the eyes were shown and nothing else. So what I'm getting with this is that obviously he didn't have good intentions, but I do strongly feel like that was creating for him a victim pool that he could choose from. As well as being able to see behind the scenes of how his previous crime impacted the way things are done. Okay. 11:12. Bethany observes Ethan and Xana at the Sigma Chi house. That's from 9 to 1:45, 9 p.m. to 1:45 a.m. What can we know about between 9 p.m. and 1:45 a.m.? The Tower, 6 of Pentacles, and the Hierophant. So the Tower is like a major piece of the puzzle here. Something major happened. And then the 6 of Pentacles is like giving and receiving. And then we have the Hierophant, which is higher knowledge. So there was some kind of significant piece of the puzzle that happened during 9 p.m. on 11/12 and 1:45 a.m. on 11/13, some big piece of the puzzle that likely resulted or played a part in later chaos. We have the Six of Pentacles, which is like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You do this for me so I can give you this or do this for you, or you owe me a favor and I'm here to collect. And the Hierophant is like knowing something that you otherwise shouldn't know. This is at the Sigma Chi house. What can we know about this Tower event that has something to do with giving and receiving or helping? Likely something of material value with regarding higher knowledge that someone else shouldn't have otherwise had. Contamination of DNA evidence may be influencing this case. So we have a Tower event that has something to do with giving and receiving, likely referring to money of some kind of exchange of money, having information that they shouldn't have, or it could be like having the same beliefs. And then contamination of DNA evidence may be influencing the case. Huh. Let me pull a couple cards here. Seven of Wands reversed. Knight of Swords reversed. Nine of Wands reversed. My opinion, allegedly, my opinion, Ethan was given something. He was supposed to be sleeping, and he was not supposed to be a problem that night because he was supposed to be otherwise zonked out. Oh, I feel like it's coming together in my mind. So essentially what I'm getting here is I'm almost seeing like somebody putting something in his drink. I'm not seeing it like an exchange, like, here, take this. I'm seeing it like something unknowingly put in his drink. Do we know? The thing about this is, if this was Brian that put something in his drink, we would have heard about it by now. Because there would have been at least one person that would have came forward and said, oh, I saw him at Sigma Chi that night. This person, this pre-crime accomplice, may not have necessarily known that he wanted to do what he ended up doing, Brian. But there's somebody else involved here before the fact. I am strongly feeling like they didn't know what he wanted to do or the extent of what he wanted to do, or maybe not even knew why they were doing this, but they were just doing it for money. They were either doing it for money or an IOU. Some of these. Outside. Parental figure in reverse. Landfill in reverse. Trashed. I'd be curious to know if there was a period of time that night. On 11/12, I'd be curious to know if there was a period of time where Ethan was outside and someone could have possibly been close enough to put something in his drink. This is giving me like walking someone really, really drunk home. This is giving me completely trashed, upside down trashed, or another way of being incapacitated. And then outside is making me feel like, did he walk outside and someone... This could be like if he walked outside and maybe someone walked past him and put something in his drink. It doesn't need to be that they were standing there talking, because then it could be, oh, I saw this person talking to Ethan that night. But it's almost like somebody walked by and put something in his drink and he was supposed to be way too messed up to be able to be awake. I'll pull one more of these. Closer observation of the victim's living space may provide clues. Okay, I'm just gonna say something. I see this not really taking the best turn very soon, going down on this list. The next couple sections of this, I'm going to try to be very mindful of how I say things, but I am going to tell you the truth of what I see. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. This may take a little bit of a turn. This may take a little bit of a turn, and I could be wrong. But if it is going to take a turn where I feel like a lot of people may be offended by what I'm going to say, I will give you a warning so that you can click off. Yeah. We're up to 11:13. Oh, this I feel like is, it's the Sigma Chi house. I feel like this is, amongst other things that we're not going to get into quite yet, I feel like this is confirming that there's something at the house that night that was not being looked at. And I really feel this could either be the Sigma Chi house, or it could be Xana and Maddie and Kaylee's house. But one of those houses, I believe that this is confirmation that one of those houses is where that tower event that didn't seem like a big piece of this, but actually was a big piece of this because it was leading to further disaster. Something about money exchanging hands, a favor exchanging hands, somebody helping in a way that they didn't know what they were helping with, maybe. Knowing something that they shouldn't have known previously. And trying to get someone too trash to be able to do anything about it. Um, 11:13. 1:08. So we also have 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Kaylee and Maddie are observed on CCTV footage inside the corner club. 6 of Cups. Yeah, it's like they were having that one last hurrah together before they had to kind of get into their grown-up era. Not that they weren't, but like next chapter of it. Temperance. Sorry, I just dropped all the cards. Temperance. Also, it's 7 of Pentacles reversed. Fall out. They were out trying to enjoy their night together, kind of like reliving their childhood in an adult way before they had to really embark on adulthood. They knew at the corner club that something was not feeling right. However, they didn't know how bad it was going to get. But they knew. What energy, what type of energy was the girls picking up on at the corner club when they were trying to enjoy their night together, but they were picking up on something wasn't right, even though they didn't realize how bad it was? What was it? What energy were they feeling? Arwan, Master of the Great Hunt. Authority, the hunt, natural balance. And he's holding a big sword in his hand. And he's holding, we've gotten this card before, but this is the one where he's holding that blowhorn. Why am I feeling like they saw him? So this could go 2 ways. It could be either they felt this energy of, I feel like my stalker's nearby, or maybe something gave him like a weird vibe, or it could be that they directly saw him. And that doesn't necessarily mean that she looked at him and was like, oh, there's my stalker, but she was getting that energy nonetheless. 5 of Pentacles. Somebody was there but not drinking. Somebody was there. Oh. So this could be referring to Brian, or it could be referring to a potential person that may have been helping Brian with or without knowing what they were helping him with. I do feel like a lot of people are picking up on Accomplice, and while I do feel like he did the actual murders by himself, I do feel like there was help surrounding the setup and aftermath of them, and I feel like we're really seeing that right now. There was somebody that Kaylee and or Maddie noticed, and it was like they either made eye contact with this person. Yeah, they made eye contact. Well, either they made eye contact or they noticed this person was like watching them, but this person wasn't drinking. It would be like somebody like standing in the corner, but like them knowing for sure like that person's here to pay attention to me. And I was going to say it may not have been in the bar, but I'm strongly feeling like something that was sticking out to them, to at least one of them, Kaylee or Maddie, was that somebody was creeping them out, watching them, and not drinking. And not with anybody else either. Confirmation of that. King of Cups. Yeah. Huh. Which is, it literally shows a guy like standing there drinking. So maybe he had a cup and just wasn't ever drinking out of it. Like maybe he was like just standing in that, which is really creepy. Maybe just like standing in that position, kind of watching them. I guess that would make more sense than just not having a drink. Like if he had a drink and just wasn't drinking it. Huh. Yeah. Either Brian or a potential accomplice, in my opinion, was at the bar that night, had been caught kind of creeping the girls out. And this may not have been Brian. This may be someone that was telling Brian when they left. I don't know. But something about someone standing there with a drink but not drinking it, staring at the girls, and they were getting creeped out by it. What was the energy of this person that was standing there with a drink and not drinking it, creeping the girls out? Lilith. Thief of life. Hunger, animalism, instinct. You know what I'm noticing right away, which is weird because it's really dark? This is a bell right here. Come on, window. That's a bell right there. It's really hard to see, but it is. It's a bell. And you know how like some, well, I guess that's like car shops. I feel like I've seen bars that have like a bell that you ring for something. Maybe tips? I don't know. But I almost, if there's one of them in the bar, maybe that's where the person was standing or something similar to that. I guess it could have been a phone, like maybe a wall phone. Oh, the service station where the, is there a service station at the bar where the people get their drinks? It would be like if they looked over at the service station and saw some guy standing in the background and he was not drinking, and they noticed that maybe his drink wasn't going down, or just they never saw him taking a drink, or they kept looking over because they felt his energy, but every time they looked over he wasn't drinking, but he was being caught staring at them. So she said something to Adam. I'm curious to know how the Jack, whoever walked them to the food truck, that guy, I think it's Jack. I'd be curious to know how that came about, because I'm wondering if maybe the girls, or Maddie, maybe Maddie said something to Adam, like, is there anyone here who can walk us? Because we're getting weird vibes. And maybe did one of those, like, don't look now, but look over there, that's him. But he left. He wasn't standing there anymore. When he saw Maddie going to talk to the bartender, that's when he left. That's how he beat them to the house. Okay, so what I'm seeing is someone, likely Brian, standing behind like the bar service station with a drink, not drinking the drink, like trying to blend in because he's alone, but like not drinking the drink because he needs to be sober, or at least not drunk. He wasn't there to drink, he was there to stalk. That hunger, animalism. Standing behind. So it would be like if the girls kept noticing him, they're like, oh my gosh. and then got uncomfortable enough to the point where they wanted to leave, walked over to the bartender and said, hey, do you know if anyone's here that can walk us back? We feel uncomfortable. I guess there could have been another way that this happened, but I'm feeling like that was it. Or if it wasn't that, it was just telling him about the person that was creeping them out. But it could have been telling them something else. But anyway, they were uncomfortable. Maddie wanted to talk to the bartender. It would be like if Brian saw her going over to talk to him, like was recognizing, oh, they're talking, she's not ordering a drink, and left before Maddie was able to point the bartender over to see who that was. And if the conversation didn't happen to be about that and was about something else, whatever it was about, it could have just been that that freaked him out anyway and he left. But I am really strongly seeing he was there. And when Maddie started talking to the bartender, he left. And just like how he was like, okay, I got to make my move because the police aren't letting me in. She's leaving, blah, blah, blah. Now he was like, oh, am I going to get caught because she could be telling him about me? Like, I have to make my move now. But he knew that she didn't have, he knew that she wasn't able to physically point him out yet because he had left before she got too deep in the conversation to be like, look over there. It's almost like she said, oh, look over there. And then when he looked, there was nobody there. I feel like I'm like seeing it. The bar's here. Is there like a service station over here? It's either there's one over here or one over here. And by service station, I just mean like, I don't know if there was like waiters and waitresses at this bar, but like where the bartender puts the drinks for other people to take them. If it's not a service station, it's something like that. It could be like the sink where the bartenders clean up. But it's like a central point for the service staff. And he was standing behind it. It may not have been Brian, though. I'm feeling like it wasn't Brian. I'm feeling like it was somebody who was letting him know when the girls left. Two of Pentacles. For some reason, I can't get clearly if it's Brian in the bar or if it's someone helping him. Maybe it'll come out a little bit later. I can't get it right now for some reason. But whoever it was, they have something to do with this, for sure. It's either Brian or someone who helped Brian know when to make his move. Whether or not they knew what that move was going to be, I don't know. But there was somebody in the bar that night that was making them uncomfortable. All right. So we're still at 11:13. Bethany estimates that Ethan and Xana returned to the King residence at 1:45. 1:45. What can we know about that? High Priestess. Nine of Swords. Ace of Pentacles. My opinion, allegedly, this would be like if Ethan was a little too messed up and Xana was getting a little worried about it, starting to question it. Trying to... That food that she ordered was for Ethan. Oh my gosh. So let's say Ethan was really, really, really messed up. How could they have known that? I don't know if maybe it's a normal thing to do for them to order food if they're really drunk when they get home. That Doordash that Xana ordered was likely for her to split with Ethan or give to Ethan, because he was really, really messed up and she was trying to help him. And she was starting to get really worried. That's why she was up and not sleeping. I'd be curious to know if that's like something that is normal when they get really drunk, is to order food. I'd be curious to know if he threw up that night. Like, maybe whatever Ethan was given wasn't a drug. Maybe he was pushed to get very drunk and then given something to empty out his stomach. Like, given something to make him throw up so that he'd be hungry. Because if they were being stalked, they would know that there wasn't that much food in the house. That sounds like left field, but for some reason, because if there was some kind of drug in Ethan's system that was very abnormal, I feel like maybe we would have heard about it, or, I mean, at least they would know about it, and that would be a factor. But I feel like it's not, because it wasn't that. It was something to make him throw up or something to make him feel sick. Because everybody would be looking for like a drug, but it's not a drug. It's like... I don't know, but whatever it was, Xana was worried about Ethan, and I believe that that food was actually for Ethan. And part of the King of Wands. Yeah, the King of Wands would be like, if he didn't have control over his like throw up, like if he was like throwing up. Or maybe he... Is there some kind of drug that you can give someone that's not necessarily something that's illegal, but it's like they would throw up and then go to sleep? Like some kind of like system reset? I don't... Because let's say they get back to the house and Ethan's very sick, and maybe he didn't throw up, maybe he just had very bad stomach cramps. Why do I feel like that's it? I feel like he didn't throw up, it was stomach cramps. We'd be looking for something that gives someone stomach cramps and then makes them tired. So if they get home, Ethan's having these stomach cramps or not feeling well, because it doesn't have to be stomach cramps. It could just be not feeling well. I don't know. But I don't think it was a drug, like a narcotic, because that would have been in the system. This person, Brian thinks he's very smart. It's something that would have made him not feel well. I'm feeling like Xana ordered food either like for him or like for both of them to share. And it may not have been like a meal for him. It may have been like maybe she said, oh, let me get you something to eat. And he was like, no, I don't want anything. And then she was like, not in a rude way, but like, no, I don't want anything. And then maybe she was like, all right, I'm going to get this for myself, because I feel like I've said she's an old soul. So this kind of fits in with that. It's almost like she was like, all right, I'm going to get some for myself. And then I'm going to see if I can get him to eat some of it. I wonder if it was... I wonder if this was so that he could see who would open the door, because maybe he figured if Ethan was awake still, that he would be the one to go to the door. But then how would the food be for him? Oh, testing the timing of it. Like if he was given this at a certain amount of time, it takes X amount of time to come into effect. This was all planned out ahead of time. Give him this. It'll take into effect by this time. She'll get worried, order him something, because they don't have food at the house. I'll make sure that when she orders food, if she's the one that comes to the door, I'll know that he's asleep, and then I can go into the house. He studied these people, so he would know. I would assume that he would be able to know, okay, Xana will probably try to take care of him, try to do this. And that's like almost kind of feeding in his anger. Like, I know that she would do this for him, but nobody would do it for me, kind of thing. I know that sounds like kind of out of left field, but that's what I'm getting. Like that, it's almost like it's coming to me like just straight. It's almost like one of them is just standing there explaining it, and I'm just telling you. I don't know how else to say it. All right, let's go to the next part. Maybe it'll make more sense shortly. So I wanted to kind of collect all the cards again so I can have the whole deck going into this next part. I was thinking, I almost feel like Brian left his phone at home, went to the area, like, of either the bars or King Road, like, went to that area, and then went home and waited before he went back. Is it possible that Brian was testing out some kind of like drug that wouldn't be normally viewed as like not a narcotic, but like maybe either something undetectable or something that's not tested for, that would render people otherwise unconscious or like sleepy, like very sleepy, maybe not unconscious, but like very sleepy. It's like he was in the area, then went home and then came back, but he knew what time to go back, that this would all be coming into effect. All right, I'm just going to move past that for right now so that we can make sure we're not missing anything. I want to now go to BK's phone was using resources at his residence in Pullman at 2:42 a.m. on the 13th. And then it, hold on, was using. All right, so first we have BK's phone was pinged at his house at 2:42 a.m. Then we have the white sedan at 2:44 a.m. traveling north on Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. Then at 2:47 we have his phone using services consistent with the phone traveling south through Pullman. The phone stops reporting to the network between 2:47 a.m. It doesn't have like a timestamp for that, but between 2:47 and 2:53, I guess you could say, the phone stops reporting to the network consistent with the phone either being in an area with no coverage, airplane mode, or turned off. What was going on at that time? Queen of Pentacles. Six of Cups. The Star. Somebody told him that the girls had left, or he knew somehow that the girls had left. This is the card that we just had that was representing their night out. We just had it. It was representing their night out that night. Now we have the Star, following the North Star. He knew that they had left. So if he's in Pullman, how would he know that they left? Or it was after they had arrived home, so how would he know that they were home? This could be either a feminine person, or it could be someone with feminine energy. But this person was the connection to him knowing when it was time to leave his house. And this could also be someone posting on social media. That's less likely in my opinion. I feel like it's some kind of direct communication. Oh, it could have... Is it possible he was watching the Grub Truck video? Is it possible he was watching the Grub Truck video and saw them leave? But with this information that's now come out, it's looking like he wasn't in the house before they got home, because obviously his phone was pinging elsewhere. So either somebody else had his phone and was driving around with it, turning it off when needed. My eyes are really watery. No, because he was seen in the car. Seven of Swords reversed. he had help. Somebody else is involved in this that also really wants to study the criminal mind. Either because they feel like they've been wronged by the criminal justice system, or maybe they just have some kind of sick desire like he does. The devil. Is it possible that I don't know, I don't want to go there yet. Then we have no 247. BK's phone uses cellular service southeast, then the phone is shut off. 253, the vehicle is traveling southeast on Nevada Street, which connects Pullman to Moscow. So 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., BK's phone does not use cellular tower resources, does not use in close proximity to King Road, does not use. And then white sedan is seen traveling westbound. Okay. So I'm gonna say something here that may seem a little bit of a stretch, but I keep getting it over and over, and I feel like now is the time where I'm going to use these cards after I say this, and then I'm gonna pause it so I can look up the case that we're gonna pull. Is it possible that somebody was helping Brian to create that reasonable doubt? So like Brian's the only one that committed the crime, but could it be that somebody else dropped his car off? Like if Brian was casing the house all night waiting there, for some reason, I'm still very strongly getting that he was there before they got home. And we know what time they got home, and that was way earlier than his phone was moving around. Could it be that somebody had a job for him that, okay, at this time, you're gonna leave my house, go this distance, and then turn the phone off? Like almost like an unnecessary step, but thinking ahead, that could be what he's using for reasonable doubt in some way. For some reason, I feel like now is the time to pull this card. So let's see what we get. Pologoski Maniac. Oh, this is the person's name. I don't know how to say it. Serhiy is the first name, and then Tkach. Age at first killed 28. Years undiscovered 25. Number of victims 37 to 130 plus. Born September 12th, 52. The former Ukrainian police criminal investigator. The former Ukrainian police criminal investigator, and later a convicted serial killer who claimed to have killed 100 people. He suffocated girls between the age of 8 and 18 and performed SA on their bodies after they were passed away. The former Ukrainian police criminal investigator. Oh my gosh, remember I said, so I didn't do that on purpose, but what came up was the co-ed killer, Edmund Kemper, American serial killer who was active in California, murdered grandparents, later killed and dismembered 6 female hitchhikers. For some reason, I'm gonna go look up these 2 cases. I only meant to pull one, but let me be right. One of them's dead, one of them's alive too. I wonder if that means anything. Huh, 1 second. Okay, so this first guy, Surahai, I'm not saying that right. He, according to neighbors, claimed to have been a veteran of the Soviet-Afghan War, worked as a police investigator where he was recommended for admission to a Ministry of Internal Affairs school until he was caught falsifying evidence and forced to resign. I pulled these cards because I said, is it possible that somebody else was involved helping him? It could be that he's trying to pave a way to falsify some kind of targeted female victims, SA after death. Used his knowledge of criminal investigation procedure to mislead other policemen investigating his killings, such as choosing victims near railway lines recently treated with tar to throw police dogs off his scent. So there's the dog connection to the dog that was left unharmed. Used his knowledge of criminal investigation procedure to mislead other policemen. He got life in prison. Attended the funeral of one of his victims. Children also in attendance claimed to have seen him with the victim shortly before her death. Demanded the death penalty. He was featured on 2008 Netflix documentary Inside the World's Toughest Prisons. Revealed that he fathered a child while in prison with a woman in her 20s who became infatuated with him after reading an interview in the media. She went on to marry him, was allowed conjugal visits, and became pregnant. Huh. And he's the same age as Brian. I'm not saying that this is like who he was looking up to. I'm just saying that this is the person that the universe wants us to look into, that spirit wants us to look into in terms of information, which I feel like is, I almost feel like this card is the card saying like, yes, this deck is what you should be using, because we have that criminal investigative element there that's tying it. I don't know what I'm about to get in this card, the second card that came out, but I'm realizing that this was the connection card with the 28 years old and the criminal investigation element, police, whatever element. So this was like saying, okay, yeah, this deck is actually going to work for this. And this is where we're going to get some kind of information. So let me look it up and I'll be right back. So Edmund Kemper, serial killer who murdered a total of 10 people, including a 15-year-old girl, as well as his own mother and her best friend. So we have the mother element because people were saying like his mother may be in danger. So that's like the connection here in terms of like spirit energy. Mother and best friend would be like, not mother, but Kaylee and Maddie are best friends. Oh, he did this. He committed those crimes following his parole for murdering his paternal grandparents. He was nicknamed the co-ed killer. And most of his victims were female college students. Most of his murders included inappropriate behavior. Oh, here we go. Kemper had a troubled upbringing. His parents divorced early in life. His mother locked him in a basement which had been frequented by rats, which I'm not at all saying that that's what Brian's mother did. I am not accusing her of that. I'm just saying Brian also feels that feeling of disconnect. Not that he was locked in a basement. That's not what I'm saying. He ran away to reunite with his father, which I said in my previous readings, it's like the mother wasn't able to emotionally connect, so the father stepped up and they became closer. But he had remarried around Christmas. Brian went home for Christmas break. Well, that's why he went home in what he's saying. And sent Edmund to stay with his paternal grandparents. It was there at the age of 15 that he murdered them. Huh. So then he was released at the age of 21. After a convincing psychiatrist, he was rehabilitated. They're saying he was previously diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and sentenced to the state hospital as criminally insane juvenile. So then he convinced them that he was rehabbed, was regarded as non-threatening, targeted young female hitchhikers during his killing spree, luring them into his vehicle and driving them to secluded areas where he would murder them before decapitating, dismembering, and violating them. Then murdered his mother and one of her friends before turning himself into authorities. What can we know about how this connects besides as just a sign of it being similar in some energies? Page of Wands reversed. What I feel like this is doing is I feel like it's confirming his mindset. 9 of Swords. That's like kind of like being locked in a basement, like, but mentally. So I feel like what we're being told is this is kind of how he was feeling, regardless or not if it was something that was stemming from actual circumstances. He was feeling that neglect. He was feeling that disconnect. I do believe that his parents likely had some inklings that something was wrong earlier on in life. I feel like that's also what this is confirming, because that element can be confirmed through tarot, and I think we have, but I feel like this is saying to really look into how that has affected him, because it's going to play a role in his defense. What makes me nervous about this is convincing Psychiatrist he was rehabbed. And then I'm wondering if the element in here of murdering the mother before turning himself in, a lot of people were saying that they felt like his mom was in danger. And I wonder if this is kind of the cards telling us that she was. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I feel like if what we got here doesn't make sense to you yet, it will. It kind of has helped put some pieces in place for me, but I can't just outright say them. I want to kind of have it come out as we go through the other document. I lost the other document. Oh wait, no, here it is. So now the phone stops reporting. Okay, so now we're going back to, did he have help moving his phone? Oh my gosh. I only meant to pull 1 card, but I pulled 2 because it fell out. He had help. Is that what that means? Give me a card from Xana if that's what that means. King of Cups reversed. The one that we had that was showing him at the bar. He had some kind of help. He had help. He did the murders himself, but he had help in the before or the after, and he's planning on using that to create reasonable doubt. It would be like, if you had help with something, but you never, even after you got caught, it would be like if you didn't say, oh, I had help, but you were using the fact that somebody else had your phone in a different area to help you to your advantage, like without being, I don't know how to explain it. Let's keep going. It'll make sense as we go, hopefully. So then we have the white sedan. 2:47 is when his phone stopped using service. I'm not convinced that he was the one that turned it off. I don't know. Does not use service, white sedan, blah, blah, blah. Both Dylan and Bethany made statements during interviews that all occupants of the home, with the exception of Xana, were asleep or at least in their rooms at 4:00 a.m. 4:00 a.m. is when Xana receives the Doordash delivery. Time frame of the investigators believe the homicides occurred between 4 and 4:25. Xana got the Doordash at 4. So I want a card for 4 to 410, 410 to 420, 420 to 430. Four to 410 is Page of Cups reversed. 410 to 420 is the World reversed. Temperance in reverse is 420 to 430. I would say that the murders happened between 410 and 420. So it would be about 10 minutes after that Doordash delivery came in. So that could be when he entered the house. Yeah, that's when he entered the house. Let me pull a card to confirm. Page of Swords reversed. Yep. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm just going to do it. This would be like if Brian was watching the house. It would be like if Brian was watching the house, knowing that Ethan wasn't going to be feeling well. Maybe not knowing that Xana will call for food, but hoping. And then Xana gets up to go to the door. He comes in the slider. He's waiting somewhere for Xana to go back in the room and shut the door. He's waiting for Xana to go back in the room and shut the door, and then I'm not getting anything. Hold on. 3 of Swords reversed. He's waiting to see what happens when Xana goes back in the room, if there's a back and forth conversation between her and Ethan or not. This would be like Xana goes to get the food. He comes in the house really quick, is hiding somewhere. Oh, that's like the hiding element. It wasn't hiding before they got home. It was hiding between when he came in the house and when he was waiting for things to calm. So she went to get the food. He comes in the door, is hiding somewhere she's not going to see him, so he can hear when she goes in the room if she talks to anybody and anybody talks back. Xana goes in the room. He doesn't hear Ethan say anything back. So he makes a move. He moves. Xana heard it, but she knew that it couldn't have been anybody else because she was just out there getting her food and didn't see anybody else. So she says there's a noise. And Ethan gets up and looks. Pull a card to confirm so far. 8 of Pentacles. Yeah, he put in all this hard work and wasn't going to let it go to waste then. He was already committed. He was already in the house. So, okay. So, Xana goes to the door, gets the food. He comes in, hides somewhere temporarily until she can go back to bed. Then what happens? 5 of Pentacles reversed. He's hopeful because he hears her go back in the room and Ethan doesn't say anything back to her. 4 of Cups, he thinks that she's just gonna don't know if he thinks he can be quiet enough that he can just do it while she's still awake. But I'm feeling like he's somewhere. He wasn't waiting in the house prior to them getting home, but he was waiting in the house prior to starting. It's not like he walked in and just started attacking. He walked in, waited to make sure everything was calm and quiet. She went and got the food, went back in the room. He didn't hear Ethan saying anything back, which in my one earlier reading, I said that he heard a male's voice and that's what startled him, or that's what kind of whatever, like he wasn't expecting to hear the male's voice. He wasn't expecting to hear the male's voice because he heard her go into the room and him not say anything back to her, so he figured that he was sleeping. And then he made some kind of noise by accident. Xana said, "What's that?" Ethan got up to look. Then what happened? Page of Pentacles, Ace of Wands. He did go to the girls' room first. He waited in the house. Xana went got her food, went back in the room. He was listening somewhere. He heard that Ethan didn't say anything back. He went upstairs. Five of Swords or Vice, fair fight. Yeah, and that would be Kaylee. And that would be Passion. So he goes back in the room. He doesn't hear Ethan say anything back. So he's like, I'm good, I can go upstairs. Goes and does that upstairs. Is coming back downstairs. He realized that he was missing a piece of the knife. He was going to go back upstairs to look. And that's when he was met with Ethan. Xana said, "Somebody's here." Ethan got up, opened the door, and was met face to face with him pretty much. So he had to go in there, attacked them, then realized that the other roommate, he had seen her. Well, maybe. But anyway, he had to go and attack them. Wasn't planning on doing that. So he left afterwards because that wasn't part of his plan. And that made it so he wasn't able to go back upstairs and get the other piece of the knife that he knew he had lost. Six of Swords, about leaving something behind. This would be like, hold on one second. Okay, this is what I'm getting so far, and then I'm going to pull a card to see if I'm right. Xana gets up, gets the Doordash order, goes back into the room. Brian waits, doesn't hear anybody talking back to her. Figures, okay, I'm good to go. Goes upstairs, attacks the girls, goes back downstairs, realizes, oh crap, part of this knife is missing. goes to turn around to go back upstairs. Xana hears him, sends Ethan out. He attacks Ethan, then attacks Xana, then sees the roommate or doesn't see the roommate. And that's when he leaves because he realizes somebody else is there. So he couldn't go back upstairs to get the sheath, because if he did that, then that would give the other person enough time to call the police potentially. So he was hiding downstairs, went upstairs, came back downstairs to leave, thinking that they were sleeping. And somebody heard him trying to turn back around to go back upstairs. Let me pull a card for that. King of Swords. Okay, I want to skip to... Oh no, that's next. Okay. Dylan was sleeping in her second floor bedroom when she is awoken, but by what she states sounds like Kaylee playing with her dog in one of the upstairs third floor bedrooms. What was that noise really? Two of Wands. Chariot in reverse. That's at 4 a.m. The third floor bedroom that he was in, that the dog was in, was that the one right above Xana's room? Maybe he didn't wait downstairs. Maybe he came in and went upstairs. Either put the dog in that spare room or the dog was already in the spare room. But that dog was jumping around because Brian was in the room with the dog. The dog was, it said that the dog was in that third floor empty bedroom. That noise that she was hearing was because Brian had made his way into that room and was waiting, listening to see if he could hear downstairs if Ethan and Xana were talking or not. That makes more sense. Xana goes, gets food. He comes in the house, runs upstairs. He sees that the girl's lights go out. Then Xana gets food. He goes upstairs. He goes in that spare bedroom, either thinking it's going to be empty and the dog's in there, or he brings the dog in with him. But he's listening downstairs to see if what's being said downstairs, to make sure that he's not heard. That's quiet. So he goes in the girl's bedroom, does what he does, is leaving, realizes the sheath, goes to turn around to go back up, and now he's frazzled because he's like, oh crap, that wasn't part of my plan, obviously. That's when he makes some kind of noise. Xana hears him, wakes up Ethan. Ethan comes, he like froze for a minute, Brian. He froze for a minute. Ethan came to the door. That's how he got in that room, attacked them both. Was walking straight towards the roommate. So he had to make a split decision. Am I gonna attack her with potentially someone else in that room that could come after me? Am I going to turn around and try and get the sheath with her looking at me right there because then she has time to call somebody? Or am I just going to play cool and walk out the door? And that's what he did. Huh. I'm going to pull one of these. Yeah, because we have the Two of Wands that came out. And that's about choosing a path. Which way should I go? Which one should I do? He had the knife still on his person. Probably not in his hand, but like on his person. So imagine you're walking down this. You just killed people. I know it's hard to imagine, but imagine you just killed people upstairs. You're walking out of the house. You're like, oh, okay. The person that's supposed to be sleeping never woke up. I guess everything's going well. Then you realize, oh shit, there's a piece of my knife missing. That frazzles him. He turns around to go back upstairs to retrieve that. Is met with Ethan waking up. Xana waking Ethan up. Because Xana was still awake because she had the food. Hey, Ethan, I hear something. It's almost like he was passing right by their room to go back upstairs. Either he was passing by to leave or passing by to go back upstairs. But he made some kind of noise. Xana heard, said something to Ethan. He was close enough to their door that he heard her say, hey, Ethan, or something. So he froze there for a minute. Ethan came to the door. He was met face to face with Ethan. Ethan got attacked. Then he said whatever he said to Xana about, I'm going to help you, or some creepy thing like that. And then attacked Xana. The roommate heard the crying, opened the door, was met face to face with someone walking towards her. So he had to choose, am I going to attack her? Potentially someone else could get involved. Maybe he didn't even know if Ethan and Xana were all the way passed away yet. So maybe he was worried about them fighting back. I don't know. I don't think that's it, but just a possibility. So he had to choose, am I going to attack her, potentially have someone else here? Should I go back upstairs and get the sheath, knowing that she can now call the police in this time that she sees me going upstairs? Because that would, the roommate may have found that suspicious if he was going upstairs, and then may have been calling the cops. So he chose to just play it cool and walk out, hoping that she wouldn't suspect anything further. Hold on one second. So now I'm confused because I'm looking ahead and it says suspect vehicle. It's seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of Queen Road, and then driving back westbound on King Road at 4:04. Appears to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in front of 1122 King Road. Continued to the intersection where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn. And this was at 4:04. This is my opinion. Allegedly, I feel someone dropped off his car to him. He would have wanted to be in the area earlier than just minutes before committing this crime. It meant too much to him. He spent too much time previously being in the area. Maybe they didn't know why they were, but like, hey, can you bring my car here and park it and leave it there? I'm strongly feeling like he was already in the house and that was not him driving that car. That's seen at 4:04. Because this means that Yeah, because before that, it has 4:00 a.m. Dylan was sleeping in her second floor bedroom when she was awoken by what sounds like Kaylee playing with the dog. Short time later, hears who she thought was Kaylee say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." But then at 4:04, Brian's vehicle is seen driving eastbound on King Road. So someone else dropped off his car. If he was already in the house, and he had to be in the house, because how else would he be able to murder 4 people in between? It says that his vehicle was seen driving eastbound at 4:04. And then the audio whimper is at 4:17. And then at 4:20, we have the vehicle departing the area. So if Brian was the one that was driving his vehicle that night, and it wasn't someone dropping his vehicle off to him, then that means that it only took him 16 minutes to break into the house and murder 4 people on 2 separate floors, while also just casually strolling by Dylan. What can we know about if someone else dropped off his car to him that night, or put the car in the area that night for him? They didn't know why they were doing it, maybe, but they did it. It would be like if that person didn't know why they were dropping off the car, or maybe they were just doing it for money, and then they were too scared to come forward later. I don't know, but somebody dropped off his car to him that night. Because this just isn't making sense to me. And I mean, let me know if you guys think differently, but the way that this is written, it means that Dylan was sleeping in her second floor bedroom when she is awoken by what she states sounds like Kaylee playing with her dog. Then Dylan hears, a short time later, someone say, "There's someone here." But 4 minutes after that, the vehicle is seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of Queen Road, and then driving back. That to me sounds like somebody who wasn't really sure where they're supposed to park the car, but they knew they're supposed to park it on that road and was looking for a spot. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm reading all of this correctly, because I mean, let me know if that makes sense to you guys, but how could he be in 2 places at one time? Remember we kept getting timeline issue in my previous reads? Is that what he's trying to use for reasonable doubt? Like for example, if he's in the house doing what he's doing, knowing that, oh, there's a chance that maybe I'll get caught on this camera or seen here, or maybe an audio will pick me up. So he used someone else to bring the car there so that if let's say there's a noise at this time, he could be like, "Oh no, but you could see my car at that time." Let me pull one of these. Perpetrator has behavioral patterns of Serial killer. There's 2 guys in the window. 2 figures in the window. He had help. That's why he had to see what the evidence that they had against him was, so he knew how to play into making it look like his helper was actually the one that did this. It wasn't helping him commit the crimes. It was helping him with something before and or after the fact. And it has something to do with moving his car. We have... so I'm gonna kind of end this video after we get to like the directions of the car, because I want to get a map ready and I want to kind of pull everything out, because that's going to go into the can we find the knife part of this. I know that a lot of people are very curious about Dylan. This is the part where I'm going to warn you that I'm going to say what I see. I'm going to try to be very sensitive about it, but I am going to be honest. So if that's... Let's do it this way. We're going to go from 1 to 5. After I pull cards, if I feel like it's not going to be very offensive, then I will say 1. If I feel like it's going to be mildly offensive, I will say 2 or 3. And if I feel like a lot of people are going to get offended by what I'm seeing, I will say 5. That way you can click off if you don't want to hear about it, because I totally understand. But I have to tell you that I have to be honest. I have to tell you what I honestly see. I cannot... I cannot paint a picture that I'm not viewing, okay? So I'm going to set the intention here for the 4 to really take over and give me the truth in very plain sight, in a way that you guys can also see what I'm seeing through the cards. What was Dylan's energy? No. What was Dylan's mental dialogue the first time that she opened the door? And this would be the time around shortly after 4 a.m. when she thought she heard Kaylee. Xana's sleeping. Okay, so she's awoken at 4 o'clock by what she states sounds like Kaylee playing with her dog. That's what she said to police. What did she actually think in her mind at that time? Two of Swords reversed. Queen of Swords reversed. Dylan hears who she thought was Kaylee say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." 10 of Cups reversed. From 1 to 5, I would say this is going to be about 2 or 3. Well, I feel like she was agitated at the noise. And this is going to play a role in the next couple card pulls. I feel like she was agitated with the noise. This is something that she... She was jealous of the connection, and this is not to bash anyone, this is just to tell you what I see. She was jealous of the connection that the two girls had. She was agitated that she was being woken up by this loudness in the middle of the night. That's really... Homebody, moody, tender. Cancer energy, crabby. Yeah, she was mad. She was agitated that she was being woken up by this noise. That's what we have in the first time she woke up. The Two of Swords, however, being reversed is like I want to do something different about this. Like, maybe she was planning on talking to her later, or it's like, it's giving me the vibes of like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. Not that she had anything, I'm not saying either way yet if I feel like she had anything to do with this, but I am feeling that the first time she opened the door when she thought she heard Kaylee and the dog, she was agitated about the noise. She was feeling like, I need to make some kind of change in the way that I'm dealing with this. And then we have the second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Xana's room. Then she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." What was Dylan's internal dialogue at that time? Three of Pentacles in reverse. Queen of Wands in reverse. I believe at that time she thought that it was Ethan talking to Xana. She thought that it was like couple drama. So a little bit after 4 o'clock is when she heard who she thought was Kaylee say, "There's someone here." And then a little bit after 4:12 a.m. So it was like 10 minutes difference between these two. So she got woken up by what she thought was the girls playing with the dog, was already agitated and annoyed, opened the door, thought that Ethan was comforting Xana about something. Okay. I'm going to pull one of these. Like, what energy did Dylan feel coming from the, like, when you hear a voice, you get certain energy or certain vibes from that. How would she describe that? The energy she was picking up on from that voice that she, I believe, heard, or I believe she thought it was Ethan. The Traveler, Keeper of the Crossroads, Restlessness, Independence, Appraisal. She thought it was Xana asking Ethan to leave. She thought it was Xana asking Ethan. She thought that something happened, like drama between the two of them. And she thought that Ethan was asking Xana to leave. Or Xana was asking Ethan to leave. Hold on one second. Why did she think... what's more information about what led her to think that? Knight of Cups. I believe that Dylan heard, at some point, she heard Xana being worried about Ethan, but was thinking that that was a fight. Maybe she's not realizing that that's part of it, but it's almost like she heard. Maybe Xana was saying something like, oh, tell me how you feel, or something like that, meaning like physically, but she heard it as if like, oh, how do you feel about us? But it wasn't that, I feel. And she misread that. And then she thought that noise was Ethan trying to stay when Xana was asking him to leave. So then the third time she opens the door, and this time she hears crying. Saw a figure walking towards her in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's nose and mouth. She describes the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. What was her internal dialogue when that was happening? What did she think it was? Nine of Pentacles reversed. The Hermit reversed. And Two of Pentacles. I'll be honest, I honestly, going into this reading, thought it was going to come out much different. However, I know that there's a lot up in the air in terms of this roommate Dylan. But I almost feel like she thought that maybe a guy came back with Ethan that night, like, and that she was seeing him leaving. So she was uncomfortable because she thought that Ethan and Xana weren't on good terms, which wasn't the case. I think she was just worried about him being sick or stomach hurting or something. But it's like Dylan thought that they weren't on good terms, and then that like Ethan was leaving with one of his friends. That's what I'm getting. I honestly thought it was, in my honest opinion, I thought it was going to be more sinister than that. That's why I gave you that 1 to 5 rating scale, but I'm not getting that. I'm just getting that she was... Yeah, I'm not getting that at all. I'm just getting that she... It would be like this. Okay, so she's in her room. Dylan's in her room. She's sleeping or trying to fall asleep. She does fall asleep. She gets woken up to this noise upstairs, opens the door. She's like, oh, they're home. She's annoyed that she's getting woken up, but goes back to sleep. Wakes up and hears what actually is Xana comforting Ethan. But she thinks they're fighting. So then when she opens the door another time, she believes that Xana's upset about the fight she's having with Ethan. And she believes that Ethan's leaving. When she saw that person in the house, she thought that was Ethan's friend who maybe came back with them that night and was now leaving. But she was scared because she didn't know him. And if your friend's boyfriend is leaving in the middle of the night and waking up his friend in the middle of the night to be like, okay, let's go, we gotta go. Maybe she assumed that that friend was probably not happy about leaving or something like that, but I'm not getting that I'm really not getting that she had anything to do with this. And I'm feeling like her lack of urgency to call the police was not so much that she was fearing danger, was just that I really feel like she assumed that that was Ethan's friend, and that Ethan's friend was having to leave in the middle of the night due to a fight between Ethan and Xana that left Xana crying and Ethan leaving. So while that person caught her off guard and caught her by surprise, I honestly don't feel like she was as scared as she's letting on, or making it seem like she was. Like, she was startled, but I don't think she went into a shock for however many hours. I think she was uncomfortable, startled, but didn't think too much deeply into it because she thought it was just a fight between her roommate and her roommate's boyfriend. Is it possible she's saying that she was frozen and so scared because she actually didn't feel that way, but she feels like that's how she should have felt because she was under the influence of something? So she's looking back at the situation saying, oh, well, if I saw a stranger in my house, I should have been very free. It's almost like she's saying how she should have felt, but I almost feel like she just went to sleep. And that's why her story isn't making a lot of sense to a lot of people, because everyone's looking at it as like what she's saying must be a lie because it's not fitting in with her emotions. But she's actually telling the story correctly, but not her emotions correctly. Because if you're, and let me pull a card. Justice in reverse. Dishonesty. She's lying about her feelings. She's not lying about what she saw and what happened, but she's lying about how she felt about it. And that's because she was on some kind of substance or was just highly intoxicated to the point where she wasn't thinking clearly about it. What I believe, in my opinion, is Dylan thought that Ethan and Xana were fighting really bad, and Xana was getting Ethan to leave the house. Xana was crying, very upset about it. Ethan had to wake a friend up because the friend had to leave too, because the friend was like crashing on the couch or something. That's what she thought. So the person that she believes that she saw was a friend of Ethan. She was creeped out by it to the point where she went to shut her door and go to sleep. But I don't think she was in a state of shock or that scared like everyone's saying. I think she just didn't really she wasn't currently in the right state of mind to be scared enough by that. But looking back, telling the story after she knew what had happened, she was like, oh, I should have been scared in that moment. Oh yeah, I was terrified. I was very scared. I don't think that she was. I think that why her story seems like it could potentially be BS is because she's not accurately representing the emotions that she felt in those moments. And the emotions that she's saying she felt are not matching the actions that she took. And that's not because she's lying about the actions, that's because she's lying about the emotions. So I made these cards a really long time ago. For some reason, I wanted to pull them out, and I just kept thinking, oh, now would be a good time, as I was just saying that, to pull one. And I realized that the one on top says don't wait. So we're gonna pull one now. Big success. Save your money and time, but it was upside down. Save your money and time and big success. Big success here would be implying to me that how Brian just like calm and cool walked out of the house and didn't alert her to anything, like didn't turn around and try to run back upstairs real quick before she could call the cops. It was buying himself enough time to get away from it by choosing to just remain cool and walk out of the house instead of going after her, or instead of trying to run upstairs and get the knife. He didn't make any move that would make her suspicious, and he realized that she was not otherwise suspicious, so that he was able to just leave. And that's how he was able to get away for so long, because he had all that additional time in which she just went to sleep before anybody was called about this. It's a really big deck, so I'm going to pull one from the other half. Overly confident. I believe the next part of this goes into, yeah, it's like tracking where the phone went after he left, or the vehicle went after he left. So Dylan saw him walking towards her. He walked past and walked out the sliding door. When she was looking at him, what was the energy that she was getting from him? It's in reverse. The thinker, father of knowledge, knowledge, instruction, reinvention. This is the card that, remember, we talked about before, that he has. What did we say about this? It was something with this blue thing. Oh my gosh, it was about the knife. Because remember, there was this one, and then we had another card with this one where it was this same blue flame, but the person was holding it in their hand. The thinker, father of knowledge. And look, it's like the thing is floating in the air there. It's almost like leaving it behind, like leaving the sheets behind. So what was my question? What energy did she get from him? Instruction. He was instructed to leave. Knowledge. He was told about the fight between... She believed that the person she was seeing was told about the fight that she believed was happening between Ethan and Xana, but it was just Xana trying to see if Ethan was okay. And then he was instructed to leave because she believed that Ethan was leaving. Because, like, he has something in his hand here, so it's kind of like grabbing all my stuff and going. And then this is kind of like, for some reason I'm thinking like car keys, like, oh, here's my keys, like grab my keys, grab my stuff, and I'm going. So Ethan, no. So Dylan saw Brian. Did Brian see Dylan? Ten of Swords reversed. Yes. He saw her and said, act natural, just leave. Separate it. It's almost like his intention was to kill the girls upstairs. He left something behind, thought he had to go back up and get it, got confronted by Ethan, had to already do above and beyond what he was already expecting in terms of Ethan and Xana. I don't know if he came out of the room planning on going back upstairs. He saw Dylan. He saw Dylan and made a split-second decision. I can't attack her too. It's already, that'd be more of a chance to get caught, or there could be somebody else in the room. There's too many unforeseen obstacles that could happen from doing that. He realized he couldn't go back upstairs and grab the sheath that he did realize was missing. So he had to just walk out calmly. It's like for some reason I'm feeling like I need to pull one of these right now. This crime may be solved by DNA testing or other scientific methods. Obviously we know that now, but I feel like that's confirming what I just said, because this is something that we already knew. I feel like this is confirmation. I almost feel like the four are trying to confirm that they wish that Dylan would have done more, but that she wasn't necessarily involved with this happening. Like they wish that she would have called or done something earlier than she did. But at the same time, I feel like this is confirmation that what I just said was correct. And here we have again the two. Like Brian had an accomplice before or after the fact of the actual crime, and he's going to try and pin it on that person. Because if he had someone move his car, why did Brian decide to not attack Dylan? Which I already gave my opinion, but let's see what the cards say. 10 of Wands, heavy burden. Already did enough. I'm already carrying too much. I can't carry anymore. Okay. Didn't want to make things harder for himself. Didn't want to take unnecessary chances. Already had this heavy burden, which I feel like that heavy burden is the fact that now he wasn't going to be able to as easily get away with this, because it wasn't just 2 people, it was 4, and 2 of them weren't expected. And the heavy burden could also be a heavy burden that he feels because he knew that he left that sheath upstairs and he wanted to go back for it, but he couldn't because he was met with Ethan, and then Dylan saw him. Okay, so in my previous videos, I said that I believed he was waiting in that closet downstairs outside of Ethan and Xana's room and made a noise, and that's why Ethan opened the door. And I also said that I felt like the dog was in that second bedroom that was on that second floor, which now we know was Dylan's room. The pieces of information were right, but I wasn't interpreting them the full right way. That dog was shut in a second bedroom, but it was the upstairs. So instead of being shut on that second floor, it was shut on the third floor. And Brian was waiting in that room with the dog. That's why the dog was jumping around with Brian at first when he first came in the room, but he got the dog to calm down so that he could listen through the floor and hear Ethan and Xana, well, hear Xana, to see if Ethan was awake. Realized that they were asleep, made his move to the girls. The dog started barking because he had then been left in the room by himself and he probably could hear the noise in the other room. That happened. Brian goes downstairs, is maybe walking out or just feeling the knife in his pocket and feels that something is wrong or missing. I feel like he walks past Ethan and Xana's room, like to leave, realizes it, turns around to go back, and that's when Xana hears him, says something to Ethan. He's stuck in place because either he has to run out of the house or he wasn't sure if he still needed to go upstairs and try and find that. Gets confronted by Ethan. That happens. So he comes down the hallway, and then she said he made a right to go out the sliding door. So he would be coming from Ethan and Xana's room, and instead of going straight up those steps to go back upstairs, he sees Dylan and makes a right to leave instead of going up the stairs to retrieve the sheath. Xana screamed or something. The whimper or the scream, whatever that's picked up on that neighbor's camera, he thought that Xana was just loud enough so that when he saw that other roommate, Dylan, when Brian saw Dylan, he didn't know if she heard the scream and the struggle and that's why she was looking out, or if she just heard something and wasn't sure what she heard. So that's why he walked out calmly, because he's like, she may have heard that scream, but maybe if I act cool, she won't go look and it'll buy me time. I'll do one of these. What else can we know about anything that happened or anything that pertains to the first time Dylan opened the door, in between that time and the third time? So in between the first time Dylan heard something and when she was confronted with Brian, what's one card we can have about that time period? Victim engaged in unusual behavior prior to the crime. And look, it's a guy with two masks. Victim engaged in unusual behavior prior to the crime. This picture has a variety of meanings, but really what I'm getting is in between the first time she opened the door and when she came face to face with him, she originally thought that what she was hearing was Ethan. But then when she opened the door the third time, she realized it wasn't Ethan, but thought it was still connected to Ethan like a friend. All right, so I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to post this part, and then I'm going to go back probably today. And we're going to try and make sense of the map and the direction of which he went. If you have any questions, leave them on the comments in this video. For some reason, I keep, like, it's almost like something's making me stare at these cards. And I didn't want to use this many of them, but for some reason, I'm feeling called to use it one more time. I don't know why. We're just going to go with it. Let's see. Chi Omega Killer. So Chi, like Sigma Chi. Omega, like Alpha and Omega, like greater than everyone. Ted Bundy. Theodore Bundy. Born November 24th. American serial killer. Assaulted and murdered young women and girls during the 1970s. Facing murder charges, he engineered 2 dramatic escapes before his recapture in 1970. Dramatic escape, that's what we were just talking about, kind of him escaping in front of Dylan. 2 dramatic escapes. Hold on one second. Wait, isn't Ted Bundy the one that everyone's comparing him to? Approach his victims in public places. Faking an injury or impersonating an authority figure. Bludgeoning them into unconsciousness and taking them to secondary locations. Often revisited his victims. So this is who everyone is saying that he reminds them of. I almost feel like this... Remember I said that I wanted Xana to lead me to the right deck? I feel like this is confirming that what I just said was accurate. Like, the reading as a whole. And the other serial killers were 3 out of 5 stars in terms of maniac factor. So it was like, not all the information yet, not all the information yet. And now this one's 5 out of 5. And it's the person that everyone says that he's like copying after. I'm strongly feeling like this is like a confirmation that we're right on track here. Took pleasure from Bundy, took pleasure from another human's pain and the control he had over his victims to the point of death and even after. Described himself, Bundy once described his own self as the most cold-hearted SOB that you'll ever meet. Was the definition of heartless evil. That's how the 4 of us want us to view him as. Obviously, we already are doing that, but we need to view him as if he had the same mindset as Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was born to Theodore and Eleanor. His biological father's identity has never been confirmed, which is interesting because they got Brian through his father's DNA matching the weapon on the knife, so it's kind of like it's a connection. His original birth certificate apparently assigns paternity to a salesman and United States Air Force veteran. And wasn't there some kind of military symbol? For the first 3 years of his life, Bundy lived in Philadelphia. Wow, there's huge connections here. I'm going to have to look into this a little bit deeper. But just at surface level, I feel like this is a connection that the four are leading us, basically saying that the information that has come out so far has been from them. Like they're making sure that the right cards come out at the right time so that we get the right message, even if it's not exactly spot on. Okay, we're gonna wrap this part up because I have no idea how long this is, but I'm assuming it's pretty long. I want one card. I'm gonna do this deck and this deck to wrap this up. We're gonna do one from each for the four of them: Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. Let's do Xana first. And this deck will be something about Brian or Brian's energy. And then this deck will be, you know, just something about what they would like us to focus on or look at. So let's start with Xana. Eternal Servitor, the Ancient Wanderer, Hope, Incompleteness, and Yearning. This is the card that has the 4 lights. And then, oh wait. It's, oh, I just read the thing that said, oh my gosh. Girl, Xana should have been a tarot card reader. I'm meaning like she knows what she's doing. So I said in the beginning, Xana wanted me to get this deck, or I felt led. I put the intention for Xana to lead me to a deck. It led me to this deck. It led me to several decks, but this is the only one that came in so far. And the other ones were supposed to be here, but they're late. We're supposed to be here, but they're late. Ethan was supposed to be there, but he was supposed to be asleep. Anyway, so then this card came out that I just said was confirming everything, as like, this is what the 4 of them wanted us to know. And then this is who everyone's comparing him to. And I just said that he called himself the most heartless son of a bee. No heart. 4 flames. It's like he took out his heart and he's looking at it like the moon controls the tides. His heart is actually the need to have control, just like Ted Bundy. One of these from Xana. You know what's also interesting? Ted Bundy's thing says he swung neighborhood cats by their tails. And the reason that they have the audio footage is because there was a cat going to the bathroom in the neighbor's yard, and that's what activated that camera. Another connection. Killer will murder again. This is a huge confirmation because it's, again, coming from Xana. And I was saying in the beginning that Brian, was trying to set up a way to be able to do this long term with like less fortunate victims that he was going to find through the police. This person's like very small and in the distance. I feel like this is confirmation of the plan that he was setting up. Have them be their big case, or be his big case, and then use that to figure out the way things work so that he can continue committing crimes long term with getting away with it. It wasn't that Brian wanted to commit a crime and get away with it. It was that Brian wanted to set up the platform to commit crimes continuously while hiding in plain sight. Ethan. The Ferryman. Necessity, focus, and transition. Holy crap. Brian was leaving, realized he forgot some part of the knife, turned around to go back upstairs, but was met by Ethan. This card's from Ethan. Card from Ethan. Spontaneous behavior or mental illness contributed to the crime. Spontaneous. Spontaneous would be Xana saying, Ethan, go check on that. This would be Xana, like, freaking out. Like, what was that noise? Fire. Yeah, it's like Xana hearing the noise was what made Ethan get up, and that's why everything went up in smoke, so to speak. I usually do Maddie and then Kaylee, but for some reason I'm feeling like I want to do Kaylee and then Maddie, so Kaylee. It was in reverse. Queen of Shadows. Wrath, instability, suspicion. Telling you, she had a feeling that something was up. They left the bar because someone was making them uncomfortable. One of these from Kaylee. It was in reverse. Killer worked in the area. Oh my gosh, it's a power plant. It's not killer worked in the area, it's killer. The knife is near the power plant. I don't know how to like say it in the way it's piecing together in my brain. But that knife is in a power plant. Oh, because it was upside down, so it's not, don't pay attention to this. Oh, and there's a K, the big K. Kaylee. The power plant. This was, it was in reverse, so we didn't pay attention to the words. But it's a K and a power plant. Oh wait, I already did one of these. Oh well, I did another one. Argument or fight is a strong factor. The fight that Dylan thought was happening between Ethan and Xana. It's why things were able to go the way that they were. And then last is Maddie. Mother of Dawn, the emissary, beauty, agency, and compassion. See the blue dot right there? See that it's like I'm telling you, this is her confirming that she knew earlier in the night that something was wrong. And she had that motherly instinct. She was trying to protect Kaylee. It's like one person standing in front of the other. Like, see how there's two sets of hands there? She had that motherly instinct. She knew something was wrong. connected to someone who was watching Kaylee, and she was trying to protect her by getting them home that night. Killer may currently be in prison for another crime, which is something that we know. This is the card that's multiple times represented the killer coming in that sliding door. This card coming out right now is saying to me that this is Kaylee confirming that we have it right. Because we know the killer's in jail. Now we know what went down. And then we have victim didn't know the killer, with the killer standing in the window. I feel like this is her saying everyone's looking into the potential, oh, did Kaylee go on a date with him? Or was Kaylee at one point interested? This is her saying, nope, I was protecting my friend, and I'm still protecting my friend because I'm telling you that it was not a personal connection. It was a fantasy on his part. It was never a two-way street. It was stalking. One-way stalking. I'm going to take a break, process all this. I honestly want to go back and, after I post this, I want to rewatch it, make sure I didn't miss anything, because I really feel strongly that towards the end of this reading, it's been confirmation after confirmation, almost like the four of them are over there like jumping up and down like, yeah, that's it, you're going in the right direction. And I want to make sure because a lot of times when I'm channeling, I don't really remember everything that was said, because it's not like thoughts, it's channeling, like kind of like if you think of like a straw that's like upside down, so it's like boom, boom, it's like everything just comes out, and it's not like my active thoughts, so I don't always remember it fully. So I want to post this. I want to go back through everything and watch it prior to doing the video about the knife, because I feel like things in this section of the reading are going to be helpful in that section of the reading. I want to pull one card to wrap it up, like from the four of them. I want to use this deck, but I want to use the whole deck. A bunch of them fell out. I'm not looking at that one. That's the one. What's it say? Mind control. Head in a bubble with flowers, mind control. They're trying to confirm that Dylan was on something that night, that she wasn't seeing things clearly, and that's why her story doesn't make sense. Because look, it's even like a shadow behind her, like a shadow person. She saw someone in the shadows. Mind control, it's like a fishbowl almost, but she has a bunch of flowers in it. So like she wasn't able to see or think clearly about it. And it's not that she's being dishonest about the actual events that transpired. It's that she's being dishonest about her feelings, because she wasn't in the right state of mind to feel the emotions that she's saying she was feeling. Some kind of suppressant, most likely. So that's why she's like, oh, I was so scared. I froze. I was so scared. I think she was more scared about someone realizing that she was on something, and maybe like trying to take it. I don't want to go in that direction, but I don't think that, I believe that this is the four of them confirming that Dylan was not involved, but Dylan was also not making good decisions because she wasn't able to. She wasn't in the right state of mind to. And that's no blame on her, because I'm not blaming her. If she would have done something that night, The most that she could have done would be to call the police, okay? It was already too late for that to make any difference. The injuries that the 4 of them sustained, she could have called police the second Brian walked out the door, and I don't think that they would have been saved. What doesn't make sense here in everyone's mind is, how could she just go to sleep? There has to be something going on. How could she go to sleep? Because wouldn't she be scared that he would come back for her? Not if she's not in the right state of mind, that she's not looking at it that way. You would think, based off of her saying, I was so scared that I was frozen, you would think that she would then be scared enough to call the police, right? She saw him, those events happened, but she wasn't scared. That's the part that's not true, because she was on something. Would her not have been, if she was not on something, would it have made a difference in the 4 of them passing away? Absolutely not. She would probably be there with them. Would it have potentially made it a little faster catching Brian because he would have had less time to get away? No. Because let's say she sees Brian, he walks out the sliding door. Maybe a little, because then the police would have been there a lot sooner. I don't think it would have made a substantial difference, is what I'm saying. And I think that this is the 4 of them confirming that what she's saying doesn't make sense to the average person.